in the end of that game. Duke rolls, but maybe not without a little bit of a cost with Caleb Foster and obviously Ngongba, who John Shire said maybe not expecting for the ACC tournament. Where do you come down on just this entire day for Duke?
Well, first and foremost, the fact that Duke can't cover when they have a 25-point lead, can't cover a 17.5-point spread against their arch rivals is shameful stuff, John. Shameful stuff, really.
Shameful.
I would be worried about this, right? Like the question that we had with this Duke program was, what happens if you can kind of slow down Kaden Boozer? And obviously that is much more difficult and much easier said than done, right? He had 26, 15, and 5 assists tonight, by the way, just a single turnover. Where does that secondary shot creation come from? And Caleb Foster is a guy that has provided some really good minutes for them at the point guard spot, has been really good defensively for him, made some big shots. There's been a couple games, I think specifically, like I think it was Arkansas. He has taken over games down the stretch against them and just kind of said, hey, I'm a 6'5", 220-pound former McDonald's All-American. I'm going to go get this bucket. And if he is gone for a significant period of time, which is not confirmed yet, it didn't look great with him on the sideline, but we don't know exactly what it is. I do think that is a blow that reduces their ceiling. I do think that this is a more significant impact than Michigan losing LJ Kaysen. Now, the benefit for Duke is that a lot of what they do outside of Boozer is schematic. So it's stuff that Shire is they're basically running sets as opposed to relying on individual talents. But I do think it is a concern. Pat and Ngongba, do we know exactly what the deal is there? Is this something where we're worried about the NCAA tournament, or is this just like we're going to make sure that he's right for when we get to the NCAA tournament, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw the quote there that he said John Shire said he'd be shocked if both Caleb Foster and Pat will be available for the ACC tournament. So, I mean, obviously he's not going to fast forward to the instant, but that doesn't sound good, Jeff.
No, I think Ngongba's going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine. I think, you might as well give him another 10 days, right, to get completely healthy. And, he can get that kind of first game. It'll be a 1-16 matchup. You can play him in that one to shake off a little bit of the rust. But I don't think there's any reason to play him next week in the ACC tournament. As Rob said, the big one is Caleb Foster, who – again, you try to put it in perspective here and say, like, okay, he's not the best point guard in the world. But you know what he is? He's a terrific defender, their best perimeter defender on the best defensive team in the country over the last however long. So that's where you get value. Plus, he's a veteran, where obviously Kaden Boozer has not been as good as Rob and I thought he was going to be this year. I think both of us, I don't want to speak for Rob, but I think both of us felt like he would wrestle the starting point guard position from Caleb Foster by, January 1st and not look back. And he has not been very good. He's been good at times, but he's just been kind of, the guy who doesn't make a ton of mistakes, but also doesn't, give them a whole bunch of easy baskets. He's not really a threat to do all that much scoring wise, where Foster has his games, right? He has some of those games, and he probably would have one in the NCAA tournament if he's healthy. And we don't know. We don't want to speculate, but it didn't look great for his foot. He's on the second half. He had a boot. He's on the sideline. So I just think he's capable of going for 18 or 20. And what he can do is put a lot of pressure on the defense by getting the basket. And he's good in transition. And again, he's an elite defender. And with him and Sarr on the wings defending, like, that's pretty good perimeter defensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's brought a steadiness to that backcourt. I mean, that's again, he's playing within himself, right? He's not having to do anything other than that. But Rob, I think you kind of mentioned it. I mean, they've been priced basically right behind Michigan at BetMGM as the title favorite. And it just kind of sounds like to you, if these injuries are any more serious than missing, the ACC tournament, that it almost sounds like you're downgrading them.
Well, Ngongba, yes, like 100%, because I think he's so important to to what they do on both ends of the floor because of his passing ability, because of his size, because of the rim protection, and because it allows you to do things differently defensively, right? Like when you have Malik Brown in there, you're switching everything 1 through 5. When you have Pat Ngongba in there, you're going over screens, you're funneling guys into the paint, you're playing in drop. So it just allows you to give a different look. And one of the things that made UConn so good during the 23 and 24 championship seasons was that they could play 2 different ways when they had a different big guy in there. So you basically had to prepare for 2 different schemes defensively, and not having Ngongba, I think, really does impact that. With Foster, what I will say is, like, I think you downgrade a little bit with Kaden Boozer defensively, and he's not quite the shooter that Caleb Foster is, but this is why you go out and you get a player like Kaden Boozer, knowing he's going to be your backup, because I do think that he is good enough. He was terrific today once he kind of came in and had to play in the second half against North Carolina. And granted, it's North Carolina without Caleb Wilson, but I do think that he is good enough to be able to do the job that you need him to do, because it's not that much, right? Like, respectfully to Caleb Foster, like, he's out there to play a role, and the role is to be an impactful defender, to be in the right position defensively, to move the ball, to make sure that it gets to the guys that it needs to get to. And every once in a while, there's going to be a game where we need you to kind of go and make some plays down the stretch because you're the guy that has the matchup advantage. And I think Kaden Boozer is capable of doing a lot of that stuff. So I'm less concerned about that. Obviously, not having the same kind of depth is an issue, but I'm less concerned about that. If Pat Ngongba's injury is serious, then that's one where I'm like, okay, we got to have a real conversation about
they're in
where
trouble.
we are at.
They're in trouble
in that.
They're
team.
not.
Yes.
Yeah. But if both of them, I mean,